Hi, Stephanie. Welcome
Hey,
to another week in our podcast series, Too Long for a Call.
that's right. Another week of us getting an excuse to talk about things that may or may not be related to our work.
Yes, yes. But lately we've been obsessing about AI. So it starts being like a trend. What did you
Yeah.
do with AI this week? And it's a good way to start, actually. So, what did you do with AI in the past week?
So many things. Most notably, I improved my setup for implementing my designs, like web designs, because like so far I've been like using a combination of Figma and Framer, but I really wanted to figure out how I can get to implement a design that I've done in Figma using Claude Code. So this is the thing that I'm gonna show you today. Just one question, like what is up with us? Like we look like we look like nothing like vibe coders. Like what is this thing? Like tomorrow you're gonna also show like with a with tie and like we're sending mixed signals, yeah.
We are the new wave of vibe coders. We're the fashionista vibe coders.
Okay. Or like, corporate vibe coders, but we're not even corporate. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are wannabes. We are wannabe vibe coders, wannabe corporate.
I love that. There we go. Yeah. Like we're
We make it at some point in life.
one point, yeah, one day. All right, let me share my screen and then you're gonna ask me questions so we can drill down into this.
You said the design setup. So you're going to show us today how
Yeah.
you're working with AI in your design practice. And
I think like there's gonna be plenty of things to talk about this because I can get specific in it. And like I think like last time we talked about Obsidian, if I'm not mistaken.
you're definitely like a big Obsidian fan and also very vested in it since you've been
Right.
recording most of your work and personal journaling in the past couple of years there, if not more.
Yeah. But let's just do the Figma 2 implementation with Claude Code, and then let's see how much time we have.
Recently, Claude Code created this connector between Figma and AI. And I'm curious, how are you using it? Because before that, Figma had generative AI within the files where you were basically able to create some components. But that's something completely different that we are talking about here. So
Yeah.
I want to hear what is it? Explain it to us. And how are you using it?
Very good. Yeah, so this feature that they rolled out, like I think it was like a year ago or something. Maybe it was because it was in beta, but it was really producing very poor quality designs. And I think like generally, like it's a good way to look at this kind of features as a way to kind of um, get a first draft, something to kind of help you get your mind on what the solution to this could be. So, for example, for this website that I'm going to show you, this was like the first draft. This was actually vibe coded directly with Claude Code, giving the description of what the website should be. This is a product that Casper, our partner, made, and it essentially what it does is that it allows you to screen record, explain things, and hand off this to your AI agent, which solves this neat problem of how do you make it easier for the AI to see what you're seeing. So this right here was the original kind of like very quickly vibe coded version.
It is vibe coded. So it's like Loom for AI. So you're essentially creating these visual feedback session and sending them to your AI. Is that it?
That's right. And essentially what the AI sees, what your agent sees, is this text file, which is what all of these LLMs are using. Like they need things to be in text. So yeah, you can think of it as Loom for your AI agent. Very quick way to point out a few things that you want changed or not working. Um, yeah,
So he vibe coded this website and now you're improving upon the visual aesthetics.
that's right. Like I wanted to take this and basically like give it identity, elevate the perceived quality for the product, and make it stand out. Because like now when we have 10,000 websites probably done a second, like we're going to see more and more of the same. So then the question is like, how do you make it stand out? And here comes in your vision, your taste, um your personal visual aesthetic, and all the references that you have built in your mind over time. Um, so yeah, I basically took the copy that we already had in the first draft, and I designed it in Figma, and then I got Claude Code to implement it. And it was so easy to do the implementation that I was able like to play with the interactions and do things that normally I wouldn't have had the time or the knowledge. Like for example, this custom cursor. It's a quirky idea. Like it's nothing that's super functional, but it just kind of built upon like that feeling that, hey, like it's just something about pointing and talking. And I even made it so that I think it was maybe like in the local host. Let me actually see. Can you put a live version? Can you put a local host version up and running? Um, so like I even made it so that this little cursor, little animation in the middle stops, kind of as in anticipation, like when you hover on an action.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so just very simple, like single page that just elevates like the quality of the product.
So to really appreciate what's going on here, can you show what would you do before?
Yeah. So y- even though that Framer has um they have like that kind of design tool built in now.
Primer is our CMS for the website.
Yes, hosting, CMS, and website builder.
Uh-huh.
So they added like this thing called design. So essentially, like these are places where you can get messy and you can explore ideas that you can then kind of like structure them, give them this responsive properties, and make them ready for being an actual website, right? Like the key thing is that this is using like global styles, like global styles for typography and for color, and also like reusable components. So for example, like I can go in and I can change this one button here. Let's say that we can change it to use. So right now this, and then it's going to change everywhere across the website, which is kind of Command Z. So this is a really good design tool. It essentially works in the way that a designer would think about a website or a product in terms of creating like these global styles and systems. But it's so much better compared to the way that Webflow is working that we were using before.
These design files are a little bit like Figma files.
That's the original idea. The thing I love about Figma is that I can just go in and explore ideas, like get messy. Like for this particular visual identity, like for handing off, I wanted to do something that feels digital, it feels premium. And I was like exploring like these options with the gradients. And then I got the idea about adding this dotted texture that kind of imitates a screen for the logo itself. I kind of built it as a record button using a pattern of these like stars that are very associated right now with AI. So it's just easier for me like to get messy here and explore things before I actually move and structure it. Before I would have done probably Figma Framer and then implement it, but now I wanted like to do it Figma and then implementation.
Okay. With Framer, you would essentially just use the Figma file as an inspiration to you. Do you have to recreate all the components?
I mean, technically, you can easily export things from Figma to Framer. By the way, like one reason why I don't use the design pages here as much is because there are just like some small UX things around just moving stuff and ordering stuff that just feels a little off. Figma is just an easier place like to.
So what did you do? How did you connect Figma to Claude Code and then turn it into a website?
So after I did this exploration, I went ahead and essentially created this system of design tokens. And what they mean is there are these set of values for colors and also for font sizes and font spacings that are being reused in all around the design. So to give you an example, here in typography, we have design tokens for font size, design tokens for font weight. And essentially here, we have the design styles for the typography. So basically, let's say like this one, heading 1, is using the 64 design token font size, this one. This is particularly useful for like large design systems and product design projects. I was kind of like researching this um, last year, and I was building this up for our product question base, and that's where I had left it. So I figured, you know what, this might be a little bit on an overkill for this website project, but I'm just going to just copy paste this and build it from here because it's going to help me anyways. The reason why you want this is because it makes it easier to control these things because they're used across all of it. So for example, let's say that you, especially like here in the color section. So I have this one palette, which is called brand. And let's say that you're making like some changes to your design. Like it's easy like to go in here and make these ones, or even like if you copy paste this whole thing and you start a new project, this kind of gives you the ability like just to reuse this as a skeleton.
Usually, do you fill in all the values manually or it auto fills it up based on the design you've created?
This is something that you build up manually. You can of course use AI like to assist you in the process, and I did that.
How?
How you do it? Well, you can just use Claude Code and explain what you're doing and say, help me create like a typography scale. And I'm going to have like five headings, and I'm going to have, let's say like 2 different paragraph styles. So it would suggest like these values, for example. So basically once I did the exploration and I knew kind of like where I want to take this design, right? I knew that I wanted this kind of a clean look. I wanted to have this gradient in the background, and I also wanted to make it work with white typography. After I had that, I set up like these variables, like with the sizes and the colors, and I started to lay down that design section by section. So the key thing here is, because keep in mind that what the LLM is seeing is text and description. So it's going to see a description of this one section, and it will see a description of what the sizes of these things are, and also the containers, how they should behave. So basically, like all these containers, they are set with auto layout, which is kind of like a responsive way of designing. And then basically it's saying that, hey, like you should use like a certain amount of spacing between like these elements, and they should flow vertically. So if I change this one to horizontal like this, basically they're going to change locations. So the key thing here is, after lay this out and I was happy with it, then I went ahead, and this was like the bit of a tedious part, but basically I renamed every single section. I never do this. And this was like one of these things that kind of made it a little bit more cumbersome compared to working in, for example, Framer. But I went ahead and renamed each and one of these layers and boxes.
How did you name them? You describe what it is for.
Yeah, that's like, for example, like this is section what AI sees.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is a container. And I use for all the sections I use uh a group called a container, which is because I want to have like a global element that kind of limits the content, and that's what the container is for. So, for example, at one point, actually, I can show you. So right now, like this one is the container is 800 pixels, but I can just say, "Hey, can you make the global container of content to be 640 pixels instead of, I should know actually that is 800. So then what it's gonna do, I don't know if it's fired up. Yeah, there we go. The local host is here. Then what this allows me to do then is that to make like these global changes in a more easy way. You see how it did it? Like
Mm-hmm.
now it's much smaller. Here you can see this is 800, this is 600. So you kind of have to think about, like, if this is, of course, like we're talking about, like if you want to build it in a scalable way, this is the way that I would normally do it here inside Framer as well. So for example, here you have this thing called template, and you can edit this template. And here you kind of have on every page the paddings, and what every page should have essentially is an element, which basically here is like the navigation. Here, however, I also have like these containers. They are actually not global styles, so there's not an easy way for me to make changes on that. But anyways, I would go in, rename everything, just make sure that there are names, because it afterwards it makes it easy for me to reference things. So for example, let's say that this one, pricing cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can go in and I can say, first of all, like, no, let's revert size. And then for the pricing cards, let's make it slightly purple on hover. Like, I'm very vague about my instruction. Then it's going to interpret what slightly purple means, but it knows what I'm talking about. So, by the way, like one cool thing, like you see how this is rotating? This was one silly idea that I had. Like, again, like this is not something that I would have done in Framer because there's not a particularly easy way to do it. But here I had the idea, hey, wouldn't it be nice like to make it? And it was literally just like one line of instruction. And what I told it that when you pass the middle, I want like that cursor to go from this left side to the right side. So it's just like a small playful element.
Yeah. But it adds up to the personality. It goes back to what you're saying. Like, this was initially vibe coded, and you can clearly see that this is something that a machine has created for the sake of efficiency, and it's very soulless.
Yeah,
There's no personality, as you say. So now you, as a brand designer and aesthetics expert, you essentially can deepen your craftsmanship on brand building in all these small elements, because you're wasting no time in the technical things like responsiveness and adjusting the font sizes in all the pages and all these things, aligning elements, all these things, because they are there by default and they're done correctly by default. It's technically sound website from the get-go, optimized for the readability of AI agents, hopefully also of SEO, crawling bots, and things like that. So technically, it's a sound website, and you can spend your expertise in the details, in the UX of it.
sure. And and what it really allows me to do is explore ideas that before it would have been very difficult. and very time consuming to do. And because like the barrier to exploration is so low, it's just mentally, it's just more possible to go ahead and do these things because it's just giving that instruction. Even like this thing with the hover, right? It took me like one line of writing. In Framer, which is a really good tool, I would have had to go in, go to that element, go to the hover state. It's a simple enough process, but still it kind of like has like that um, investment of effort to do it, which was, by the way, compared to Webflow, 100 times faster to do these things.
And now with Claude Code connected to your Figma, you can do them another
Yeah,
100 faster.
yeah, something like this. It was really impressive because after I did this, right, I essentially like gave Claude Code this whole thing, and then it took it and implemented.
How did you connect the two things in practical terms?
In a practical terms, so basically, uh, Figma needs to have its MCP enabled. This one, enable MCP server, desktop MCP server. And Claude itself, there you configure this. And then what you're doing is like just taking the link to this page link, which is basically this one, and then you give it like to your Claude Code, and you say, I want to develop like this website. Help me do it. It's that easy, yeah. And it went ahead and worked for something like 30 minutes, and afterwards, it was basically 95% of the way. Like there were some small things that it hadn't picked up, like the background of the navigation was not blurred. The spacings between these lines, like these lines here, was not exactly as it should be. Very small things. But I just went ahead item by item and I said, for example, here for the hero section, add this pattern, do it in this specific way, and then it essentially did it. But everything else, like it was already there because I had made the work before with the variables and the colors. Like, so then now if I make changes here, I can just say, you know what, the design tokens are updated, and we can actually try this. Should be like the like this. This should be like the main brand color that it's using. So I can just go ahead and say, I made changes on the brand color in the design tokens in Figma. Okay, so let's see how that's gonna work out.
So if you were gonna do that in Framer, you essentially had to manually go there.
Well, for that particular thing, it would have been just
Um,
doing it from here. So
yeah,
this is like, again, like this is a really good design tool and is very much optimized um for designers like building things. So I'll just go in here and I'll change like that brand color or like the link color, just like this, right?
mhm.
So this right here, it's a bit of an overkill of what's doing. You saw that it updated it. But for example, like if it's more changes, for honestly, the value I see it in this is the scalability. Because if I want now for it to make a new page, it can do that. Because now it has like that whole design language.
Yeah.
I can get it like to do and explore like these interactions and things. And even like if I find somewhere on the web some interactions and they're like in GitHub, because it's code, right? Like this is a project, it's a code-based project, so I can very easily plug and play things like this.
You mentioned that it worked for like half an hour to build the website
Yeah.
on its own. Like, how many tokens do you think it burned, or what was the cost associated with that work in your estimate, rough estimate?
So I'm running just Claude Pro, and
The
obviously, like
$20
I
option.
yeah, the $20, yeah. So I think I had it for it kind of used probably like 50-60% of the session. Um, right. So it obviously like it used a lot because I was running Opus 4.6. So and oh, by the way, like Claude just rolled out just after I made this, they rolled out this Claude design. I haven't used it yet because didn't have an access until now, and now I see it. But that should essentially like be kind of like a lovable type of experience, very easy. But again, like the benefit would be that you have your code base locally on the machine. So yeah,
That would be interesting. So for next time when you're playing with Cloud Design, maybe some of the initial work that you did in Figma will be uh, optimized in some capacity. I really don't know how to imagine it because you already have such a streamlined way of working. But it will be interesting if it will give you extra tools to exactly explore
mm.
concepts, interactions, multiple ways to visualize a single thing um, through the AI instead of you ideating from scratch.
But I do like ideating from scratch. So this really comes to the personal preference. I think it's like it comes down to what skills you want to preserve and develop, and which skills would you like to outsource to the AI? Because for me, I really love like to develop my sense of aesthetics to get better at creating things that are beautiful and coherent. And so yeah, I'm sure that the AI like can come up with some things that are better than this for sure. But this is like something that I enjoy doing. Like I enjoy going on Pinterest, creating mood boards, playing with fonts, actually, just making beautiful things.
Yeah,
So like there was on the Tim Ferriss show, like they were discussing this, and it's like if you don't use it, you lose it. So certain aspects, I'm very happy like to pass them on to the AI, but other things, as part of my design work, I enjoy doing them, and I would like to get better.
very nice. This was a really cool demo to see how you're implementing it to make things faster. And I guess like this website now is like fully vibeable as well in terms of the content. We can talk to the AI about changing the copy, and so you can visually influence it. You can content wise influence it. There's a lot
Yeah,
of benefits of having everything built in this uh, AI way because it makes you the release of a new product, it makes you super agile um, in terms of creating these pages and content.
very much so. Because this is not tied in like to a platform like Framer, for example. It's just a folder with code that's sitting on your computer and that you put it somewhere to host it. In our case here, it's Vercel. So this is like the really cool thing because then imagination is your limit in terms of how it could look or what it could work. Um, there was this friend of yours that had like this website for their business.
It's a very interesting use case. They own a hotel and they've never thought about targeting corporate events. So the content on the website was only focusing towards personal use cases. And the agent itself discovered that there isn't content opportunity there. And before she knew it, there was like a company get together booked through the
Mm,
service
it's so
for
cool.
thousands of dollars in her pocket, which was very viable use case they could do for companies. It was just not something they have thought about to advertise and position for. So by all means, like these agents are incredible enablers of small businesses because when you tie together, it elevates from being a website to being your business, your brand, your presence, in some cases your service even. That's why I really love on these things because in a digital world where you can create anything with AI within minutes, any brand presence, everything becomes so mediocre. Maybe your underlying service is really excellent and you do have the expertise you're selling, but if you leave it at the level of being vibe coded, it just like, hmm, it looks like everybody else. It looks like
Yeah.
nothing really. Like nobody cared to make this better. So why would they care about the level of service they're providing? And here I love about what you're showing is that, hey, this is the starting point. We can marry the expertise and actually elevate the brand presence through the expertise, but still offload all the busy work, all the technical how to do this and how to do that to the AI.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what is uh the release for handing off? When is that?
Oof. Well, there is a few small things that we have left. Well, first is polishing the product because like this is a Mac product and it just needs a little bit more love. Then basically there's going to be a video here that's going to come in of me showing how the product works. Yeah, hopefully within a couple of weeks.
Nice. Getting there.
Yeah, the website is there. The website sets the expectation that this is like high quality, works really good. But I feel this is really the key thing in the age of AI. Like you, with so much things that are being created, the barrier for doing it, it's as low as it can be. Then the element of trust and delivering on these promises is even higher because you you don't want to ship crap and disappoint people because they're not gonna give you a second chance. Like when there is like so much to choose from. So yeah,
Yeah, so actually you're on the frontier of how to design and brand products with AI, with the assistance of AI, but using your expertise. And that is really setting you up to operate in this age and deliver value for so many businesses. I really inspired by you, Stefan, and your curiosity to constantly learn new tools and improve the process. It's just so much you, so much you.
yeah.
Like you always want to squeeze in a little bit extra, to do a little bit more, to do it a little bit better. Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to to step away from the busy work and record these conversations.
Yeah, very, very insightful. And I think for anybody that is contemplating how to improve their vibe code design, what would be like one advice you can give them right now?
Start like with some one of these like small side projects that you've always wanted to do, but it didn't seem like a good investment of time. This single page was a good example. Start from there and then use Claude Code or whichever of the terminal agents you're using. Use it as a sparring partner. Give it access like to that design file and say, look, like I want to implement this. Do you spot anything that I need to include or change in the way that I'm going to hand over this design? Set your objectives. Like say that you want to be able to do this in a scalable way. Because the really awesome thing about this tool is that it's not really like omni knowing and omni potent, but if you guide it, it adapts to you and it augments you. So there's a lot of things that I don't know, and I just set this as a instruction, and I ask it to ask me questions so that I can improve my understanding and that we can improve like that thing that we're building. So this is where I would start.
So start with the side project, be curious, start playing around, and don't worry about not knowing because you have this all knowing partner in
Yeah,
crime that can assist you to get to improve and slowly get better, get your hands into it.
yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much for showing us around, Stephanie.